On the Long Lake National Wildlife Refuge near the small town of Moffett, North Dakota, sits a little house near the prairie. Jared and Brenda Newton call this beautiful place their home, and it's where they are raising their 2 young children, a 6-year-old boy named Case and their 10-year-old daughter, Lilah. About a year ago, Lilah and the entire Newton family began a journey that brought them to 3 different states to treat Lilah for a rare disease, save her life, and bring her back home. It all started in July of 2020 when Lilah went to Nebraska to spend some time with her grandmother.
3 days into seeing Grandma, she just got some kind of stomach bug, and with a kid, you just think, oh, a 24-hour bug, it's going to get better. And it wasn't getting better after a few days.
Lilah went to urgent care, where doctors treated an intestinal infection with antibiotics. After a few more days, her condition still wasn't improving.
So I brought her straight back to Bismarck, and I was like, okay, we'll just go straight to the ER and see if you need fluids and maybe another antibiotic. I was concerned, but I wasn't thinking, something was deathly wrong. And after a couple days, they found out her kidneys were being affected and shutting down.
Sanford doctors in Bismarck knew Lilah needed a pediatric nephrologist, and the closest one was in Fargo.
Lilah's very first plane ride. In fact, we flew right over her house.
After 4 days in Fargo, Lilah still couldn't keep fluids in her system, and she wasn't producing urine. Her kidneys were shutting down. She required more specialized care, this time at Sanford in Sioux Falls. She was flown to South Dakota to begin dialysis on her kidneys, which seemed to be going well.
I think it was on the 3rd day. She was complaining of a headache, which she had before, and they treat with Tylenol. She had a seizure.
Dr. Justin Castle, a pediatric nephrologist at Sanford Sioux Falls, was in the room when the seizure happened. He was treating her for a rare condition called hemolytic uremic syndrome, or HUS, which causes kidney failure due to the damage it causes to the small blood vessels of the kidney.
In Lilah's case, she had a fairly standard course up until a certain point, but her case became complicated by what's called an intracranial hemorrhage, and that's actually pretty rare in this illness.
Lilah had suffered a stroke and needed immediate surgery. Doctors removed her skull plate to relieve the pressure in her brain.
Then for the next 24 hours, she was fighting for her life.
After neurosurgery, Lilah was placed in a medically induced coma. There was still pressure on her swelling brain, and her kidneys were still needing treatment as well.
I honestly believe that there was some divine intervention with this. I prayed to God that night, and I asked Him to be with us, and so I just feel like everything went right for Lilah that night, because she was in a bad way, and things were not looking very good.
Doctors and nurses were with her constantly.
Sanford doctors were so wonderful. They were so caring and compassionate. There were a couple times when we were talking to her in between the doctors working on her and just telling her to fight for her life. We made it through the first 24, and then the next 48, and then the next 72. She continually got better.
Lilah would be on a ventilator and in a coma for 3 weeks. Her father, Jared, had brought a camper from home, which the family had planned to live in while in Sioux Falls. But in reality, they were living at the hospital.
I wasn't there when she had the stroke, and that was pretty difficult for me to have that happen when I wasn't there. And it made it so I didn't want to leave her side after that. I didn't even want to go to the cafeteria to get food because I was worried something might happen when I wasn't there.
Near the end of August, Lilah was taken off the ventilator and was awake again. She had survived the most dangerous part of her journey, but now she would need to begin her recovery. She stayed in Sioux Falls until mid-September. Then the family went to Gillette Children's Specialty Healthcare in St. Paul to begin treatment and therapy. The stroke had cost Lilah much of the strength and dexterity on the left side of her body, and she'd need help to build herself back up. The family spent another month and a half in the Twin Cities before Lilah was discharged on November 9th, 3 months after her stroke. She had surgery a few days later in Sioux Falls to put her skull plate back on, and then finally, More than 3.5 months after Lilah went to the ER in Bismarck, the Newton family headed back home.
It was surreal. It was like, this is our house, you know.
When Lilah and her family finally made it back home, they were excited to be back in their own beds and looking out at these beautiful views again, but they were also a little bit scared.
We have this girl that now we have to take care of. You know, we had been having nurses and doctors take care of her for the last 3 months, and it was like bringing home a new baby.
She was fighting with her brother right away and trying to play with the pets and wanting to go outside and get back to life the way it was before. And I think that was a huge benefit to her to get back home and be able to do that. But it was definitely a struggle for us to get used to that. And we still struggle with that. Even with all the progress that she's made, we're still very wary because we almost lost her.
Lilah has been back home for nearly 9 months now, and she spends a lot of her time at Sanford Children's Therapies in Bismarck, working on speech therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and cognitive recognition. Dr. Castle says her long-term kidney prognosis is excellent, but she will likely have lifelong issues on her left side due to the stroke. Still, she has improved dramatically and is able to walk and even run on her own now. Her left hand and arm are getting stronger as well, and her speech has improved significantly.
1, 2,
Her therapists have seen great progress, and the hard work and drive that Lilah has shown so far can help her immensely in her recovery.
They make it fun. They just feed off what she likes. She likes to be competitive. So those therapists are great at pushing her and saying, you know, well, let's make a game out of this. Let's see who can win.
After being treated in 4 cities in 3 states, Lilah Newton and her family are learning a new normal. They're back home, but never too far away from their Sanford doctors or therapists. And now as they look back on their journey, they have a new perspective.
Everywhere she went, we got excellent care, and the doctors and the nurses were always trying to make sure that we were taking care of ourselves as well. I wish we never had to go through it, but to see what people are able to do from where she was at to where she is now and where she will be in the future is pretty amazing.
Sanford doctors have been so wonderful throughout all of this. So good about working together. I mean, no matter if we're in Bismarck, Fargo, or Sioux Falls, I can't thank them enough.
The small house on the Long Lake National Wildlife Refuge is full again, and the Newtons are all there together. Mom, Dad, a 6-year-old boy named Case, and a soon-to-be 11-year-old girl. She's a fighter and a stroke survivor named Lilah. In Moffat, North Dakota, Jason Anschutz, Sanford Health News.